Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today I am answering a Dear Ruth Theresa question. Hi, my name is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman. I'm an intuitive psychic medium here in the Sugar Land area. That's just outside of Houston. I work with my angels and guides to assist my clients in many areas of their lives, to bring them special messages from loved ones who have passed, to dialogue with their angels for guidance into their own situation, or to assist them with their own psychic abilities. If you like my content, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. So the question is, Dear Ruth Theresa, how did Harry Houdini pass away? So one of the things is I kind of did a little research because he passed away a long time ago. So let me give you the dates. So Harry Houdini was born March 24th, 1874 and passed away October 31st, 1926. And he was born in Hungary, and it's one of those, so it's really an interesting energy as you kind of watch his career. He started at a very young age, and he loved magic, and he loved kind of doing the show and kind of hiding things kind of from in plain sight. So he really, really loved the art of the show. He loved that part. And as soon as he could, he was performing for other people. He was always had this energy of like, I want to do a better trick than I did last time, kind of like inner competing. Like, I want to compete with myself. I want to be the best at this I possibly can. So he was always, always, always improving his show, improving how he said things, improving how he did things, improving the act, constantly, always, always, always upgrading. So as he got more and more popular, I mean, during this time frame, he was almost a household name. He had so many people that followed him. If he did shows in one town, sometimes people would go to the next town and watch him again, and just really enjoyed watching the show, enjoyed watching him put on this show, and kind of like not knowing what stunt he was going to do next or how he was going to do something differently. And I think that's kind of the wonderful things about Harry Houdini, that he was always upgrading his own stuff. He was always pushing energy forward of kind of like, I want to compete against me. I want to be a better me, a better artist yesterday than I am today, and I want to be even better tomorrow. So it was always constantly. And like I said, he was very much a household name. His name was written up many, many times in newspapers and articles, and newspaper people would send people and they would write these beautiful articles about like his show and how it was going, and all the tricks that he did. It's one of those, I think that is kind of like the cool, interesting part. He was very much a high volume celebrity at the time, and he loved what he was doing, and I think that's one of the best parts. So what happened is, kind of towards the end, there was a lot of people that were really jealous of his energy, and that's what I really get into, is kind of like why he passed so young, is that he was really, really always kind of competing against himself, but he didn't realize there were other people competing against him. He was, like I said, almost like blinders on, like, I don't really care about what everybody else is doing. I want to do the best show I can do. And that came into play many, many times. I did find that he was sitting down with a couple of students a few days before he passed, and one of them kind of took, made a little sucker punch towards him, because he had made a comment that he was able to withstand in his stomach area like really hard punches to the stomach. And so one of the students there kind of like really whacked him one, and when that happened, he really wasn't ready for it. He really wasn't prepared for it. And because of that, it affected all of his organs on the inside. But the one that was most affected was his appendix. And if you know anything about energy, whenever we deal with a lot of jealous energy, either ours or someone else's, it gets stuck in our appendix. So if you deal with a lot of jealousy, I'd be surprised you still have your appendix after a certain age. And what happened is, he was always, like I said, always wanting to do a better show. And so instead of taking time off and taking time to heal, he'd rather put on the show. And that's kind of that combination of this really hard sucker punch and then this really hard like driven energy of like, I want to compete against myself and I want to be the best I possibly can. And that combination really caused his appendix to burst. By the time he got to the emergency room and got into the hospital, it was almost too late. All of it had already burst, and all of that really bad stuff out of your appendix, the pus and, the infection that was going on was all over him. And it was basically all over until the end. It was just basically, there wasn't anything really that they could do about that. So that's really what killed him. And it's kind of an interesting story for us is when we are dealing with other people's energy, we need to make sure that we're clearing that off of us periodically so that we don't get stuck in their negative energy. Let's pull a couple of angel cards and hopefully get us a little bit deeper insight into this. So the first card I get is truth and integrity. And this is all about he was in his own truth and really not looking at anybody else like, oh, I'm being affected by their energy or I'm affected by something else. It was kind of like he kind of just dealt with his own stuff and really wasn't paying attention to anybody else or what they were doing, because it's more like I'm competing against me. I'm not competing against anybody else. Listening. Prior to him getting really sick, he was not listening to the doctors. And it's one of those, like, I want to keep putting on the show and I don't want anything to affect this in this way. I want to keep performing. And it's an admirable thing, but it's also his doctors were telling him and he was not listening. He was not taking that time. Dreams. I've also heard that his wife had some clairvoyant gifts and abilities, and I also feel like she also had a dream about him passing and had told him about it, and he kind of like, no, that's not going to happen to me, it's not a big deal. And it did. It ended up happening to him. So that's something that's really important to know, that when someone gives you a gift like that or tell you, like, I had a dream about you, you should really listen to what it had to say and do your own research. Retreat. What he should have been doing is taking time to retreats, taking some time away from the stage so he could heal. Going to the hospital and having the surgery done and that sort of thing would have prevented him from passing. But he's not thinking that this is like ultimate, like, I'm going to pass from this. It's kind of like, it's, not a big deal. I'll deal with it later. Because that's what is always happened with him, that he was always putting things off and not realizing, like, hey, I really need to be aware of what's going on. Playfulness. Harry Houdini had this great playful energy with a lot of people. It's one of those, he loved putting on the show and kind of like being part of it, kind of like almost like, let me show you this so I can deal with it. Signs is my last one. He had lots of signs that things were not going well for him, and instead of taking the time and taking that retreat, he kept going straight ahead towards what he knew might be a bad outcome, and he just kept going into it. Like I said, his wife had told him that she had had a dream about him. His energy of not being cleansed off or taken care of for many, many years, because it was always about the show and keep going to the next event, that he really never took any time off to heal himself. So that's kind of what happened to Harry Houdini. And it's kind of interesting that it's one of those, Harry Houdini for so many years enjoyed putting on the show. He enjoyed putting on this kind of energy show for other people, and he loved it. He loved doing his own stunts and kind of having that superhuman endurance to be able to hold his breath for longer, to be able to get out from the chains and the shackles and that sort of thing. He loved the show. I know he was enjoying his life up until the end. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.